Tonight, before you drift into sleep, try to imagine a deep forest in Central Africa. No traffic sounds, no city lights, only mist, slowly drifting between ancient trees, leaves trembling softly in the darkness, and somewhere far away, the echo of a chest beat rolling through the old jungle. For centuries, human beings looked at gorillas with fear. We imagined them as enormous monsters, violent creatures of the wilderness, or symbols of primitive power beyond control. But perhaps the most astonishing thing about gorillas is not their strength, it is their gentleness, because behind those immense bodies lives a being capable of family, memory, emotion, sorrow, and a kind of love that feels deeply human. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, human beings are always drawn toward creatures that reflect themselves, and perhaps the gorilla is such a mirror. When we look into their eyes, we do not merely see a wild animal, we see the primitive self still lingering within the human soul, an ancient instinct the modern world has taught us to forget, and a deep longing to, belong to a family, feel protected, remain connected, and live peacefully within nature. Tonight, we will step together into that quiet world, a world where enormous silverbacks protect their families through silent presence. Young gorillas laugh and play beneath the rainforest canopy. Powerful hands gently caress their young, and even the forest itself seems to breathe more slowly beneath the cold mist of the African mountains. You will discover why gorillas are so powerful yet rarely violent, how they communicate through silence and eye contact, why they are capable of grief, learning, remembering, and loving in ways astonishingly close to our own. But beyond science, this journey is also a journey into the human mind itself, because sometimes the way we look at gorillas reflects the way we look at instinct, vulnerability, fear, and the wild part hidden within ourselves. Perhaps what makes gorillas truly extraordinary is not how different they are from us, but rather how deeply they resemble us. And as the night grows quieter, perhaps you will begin to feel that. The ancient forest is no longer frightening. It becomes a place that feels very old, very slow, and strangely peaceful. A place where life still moves according to the original rhythm of nature, far away from the noise of the modern world. Welcome to Stories for Sleep, a place where we explore history, nature, psychology, and the hidden depth of the human soul through gentle stories for the night. If you enjoy slow and thoughtful journeys like this, take a quiet moment to subscribe to the channel so you may continue traveling with us through many peaceful nights to come. And now, let your shoulders relax. Breathe very slowly. Allow the distant sound of rainforest rain to gradually fill your mind. We are about to enter the world of gorillas, a world of strength, gentleness, and the ancient secrets of nature. Entering the world of gorillas, perhaps somewhere deep within the human mind, we have always carried a special fascination with gorillas, not only because they are strong, not only because they are immense, but because every time we look into their eyes, it feels as though we are seeing something strangely familiar, something ancient, something deeply close to us. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, human beings are often drawn toward creatures that reflect the unconscious parts of themselves. And perhaps gorillas are such a reflection. When standing before a gorilla, we do not merely see a wild animal. We see primitive strength, the silence of nature, ancient instinct, and emotions, remarkably human emotions we sometimes try to forget within the modern world. Imagine a mountain forest in Central Africa at dawn. Mist still clings to the enormous treetops. The air is cold and damp. Water drips softly from leaves after the night rain. The first light of morning slips through the jungle so slowly that it is almost impossible to notice. And somewhere within that deep green world, a gorilla family is waking. No violent roaring, no chaos, only the soft rustling of leaves, slow breathing, and the heavy yet surprisingly gentle movements of gigantic bodies. Perhaps that is what makes gorillas so different from the image humanity once imagined of them. For centuries, gorillas were seen as monsters of the jungle, savage creatures, symbols of uncontrolled power. But the more humanity studied them, the more we discovered an almost opposite truth, that behind those muscular bodies exists a world of extraordinary emotional depth. According to Jung, what human beings fear most is often not what is unfamiliar, but what feels too similar to themselves. Perhaps gorillas once unsettled us precisely because they reflected something primitive inside the human soul, a part that is powerful, instinctive, quiet, yet deeply emotional. If you gaze long enough into the face of a silverback, you begin to recognize expressions that feel strangely familiar: wariness, thoughtfulness, alertness, and sometimes a gentleness that feels almost sorrowful. According to Jung, the face is where the unconscious continuously reveals itself, and the face of a gorilla strangely feels like a distant memory of humanity itself. It is not accidental that gorillas share nearly all of their DNA with us, which means that within those massive bodies live many traces of a shared evolutionary journey between our species. Perhaps, when we look at gorillas, we are looking at an older version of ourselves. If you imagine a mother gorilla holding her infant in the forest, you will notice that her hands appear almost human, the way she strokes her child, the way she pulls the infant close against her chest, the way the young one clings to her in fear. All of it feels strangely familiar. According to Jung, human beings carry within them archetypes, primordial images living deep within the collective unconscious. And the image of a mother protecting her child may be one of the most powerful archetypes of all. When we witness this in gorillas, we no longer feel as though we are observing an entirely different species. We begin to sense that life on Earth is far more connected than we once believed. If we travel deeper into the mountain forests of Africa, we begin to realize that the world gorillas inhabit feels almost mythical. The ancient forest here is unlike the modern world. It moves according to a slower rhythm, an older rhythm. Some mornings, the mist grows so thick that the entire forest seems to dissolve into the clouds. Sound is swallowed by the trees. Everything becomes soft and distant. According to Jung, deep forests often appear in dreams as symbols of the unconscious, a place that is mysterious, unexplored, and filled with the hidden parts of the soul. Perhaps that is why gorillas belong to the forest so perfectly. They feel almost like guardians of that primitive world. If you remain still within such a forest long enough, you begin to hear insects in the distance, birds somewhere far away, the faint crack of branches beneath the heavy footsteps of gorillas. The space itself strangely slows the human mind. According to Jung, the modern world constantly stretches our minds toward exhaustion. Noise, light, information, endless urgency. But ancient places like the rainforest awaken another part within us, the part that longs to remain silent, observe, and simply exist. Perhaps that is why stories about gorillas often feel strangely healing, because when we watch them, we see a life less complicated. No pretension, no endless pursuit, only family, food, protection, and a slow rhythm lived within nature. If we think deeply enough, gorillas are powerful, almost to the point of fear. A fully grown silverback can be stronger than several men combined. Their bodies are built for power. Enormous arms, broad chests, large teeth, and dense muscle. Yet paradoxically, most of the time, they remain remarkably peaceful. According to Jung, true strength does not lie in the ability to destroy. It lies in the ability to master one's own instincts. Perhaps that is why gorillas move human beings so deeply. They possess the power to devastate, yet they usually choose peace. If you watch a silverback sitting silently within the forest, you begin to feel a form of authority very different from that of the modern world. No need for display, no need for loudness. Its mere presence is enough to make the entire family feel safe. According to Jung, this is the archetype of the protector, an image deeply rooted within human psychology. The strongest individual is not necessarily the most violent, but the one capable of creating stability. Perhaps that is why silverbacks often appear almost contemplative, as though they understand that true strength always carries responsibility. If we reflect longer upon gorillas, we begin to realize that their story is not merely the story of wildlife. It is the story of family, emotion, fear, instinct, and the connection shared among living beings. According to Jung, modern humanity often feels disconnected from its own primitive self. We live surrounded by concrete, screens, and lives moving far too quickly. Perhaps that is why the image of a gorilla deep within the forest calms the mind. They remind us of another rhythm of life, slower, quieter, more real. If you stand beneath the mist-covered sky of the African mountains at night and watch a gorilla family slowly falling asleep within nests of leaves, you may feel a peace that seems almost ancient. No ambition, no noise of civilization, only breathing, darkness, and the gentle presence of life within nature. Perhaps that is what this journey truly wishes to offer. Not only knowledge about gorillas, but a chance for human beings to remember that somewhere deep within, we are still part of nature. We still carry within ourselves instinct, emotion, the need to be loved, and the longing to find peace. And perhaps, when we gaze into the silent eyes of a gorilla within the ancient forest, we are not only discovering them, we are quietly rediscovering ourselves. Silverback, the guardian of the family. Among all the images of the wild world, few creatures create a feeling both intimidating and peaceful, quite like a silverback gorilla. Imagine a very early morning in the mountain forests of Central Africa. Mist still hangs heavily across the treetops. The air is cold and damp. The entire forest seems as though it is still asleep, and somewhere within that veil of mist, a silverback sits silently. Its enormous body almost melts into the darkness of the ancient forest. Thick black fur glistens with moisture. The silver stripe along its back reflects the faint light of dawn. It does nothing. It does not roar. It barely moves. It simply exists. And yet strangely, the entire forest seems to revolve around that presence. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, human beings have long carried within the unconscious the image of the protector, an ancient archetype representing stability, strength, and the ability to preserve order amid chaos. Perhaps the silverback is one of the purest natural expressions of that archetype, because within a gorilla family, the silverback is not merely the strongest male, he is the center of that small world. Everything quietly revolves around him, where the family moves, where they rest, where they search for food, and how they respond to danger. If we observe carefully, we begin to notice that the other gorillas constantly watch the silverback, not with fear, but with a deep form of trust. The young play around him. The females sit and feed beside him. The entire family moves according to his rhythm. There is something about it that feels almost like an ancient human family. According to Jung, within primitive communities, a leader was not merely the strongest individual, but the one capable of creating safety. Perhaps that is what the silverback truly represents. If we imagine an ordinary day within a gorilla family, the silverback is often the first to awaken. He watches the forest. He scents the air. He listens to distant sounds moving between the trees. And then slowly, the family begins to move with him. No commands, no shouting, simply this. His presence alone creates direction. According to Jung, this is a very ancient form of power, power that does not require force. Modern humanity often believes power exists in control and domination or authority imposed upon others. But in nature, true power is often simply the ability to make other beings feel safe. Perhaps that is why, when we look at a silverback, we do not feel only fear, we also feel comfort. If you stand close enough to a silverback, the most striking thing is not his roar, it is his silence. He sits within the forest like a living stone. Every movement is slow, intentional, and almost perfectly economical. According to Jung, truly powerful beings often do not need to constantly prove their strength. They simply know who they are. Perhaps the silverback feels so ancient precisely because of this. He does not try to impress. He does not seek attention, and yet the entire forest feels his presence. If we observe a gorilla family when no danger is near, we discover that most of their lives are remarkably peaceful. The young play together. Adults slowly chew leaves. The sound of feeding blends softly with the wind, and the silverback often simply sits and watches. According to Jung, a true protector rarely needs to use violence. Stability itself is already a form of strength. Perhaps that is what makes the silverback so different from the image of a savage beast humanity once imagined. He does not live to fight. He lives to keep the family alive. If we think deeply enough, the role of the silverback strangely resembles the pressure humanity has long placed upon the image of the father within the collective psyche. Strong, calm, always ready to protect, and rarely allowed to appear vulnerable. According to Jung, every archetype carries both light and burden. Perhaps it is the same for the leader of a gorilla family. Because the silverback does not merely possess authority, he carries responsibility for the survival of the entire group. If danger appears, the silverback becomes the one standing between his family and the threat. That danger may be a leopard, another male gorilla, or sometimes human beings. In those moments, the silverback's calmness almost disappears. He rises upright. His roar echoes through the forest. His chest beats explode like giant drums among the trees. It is one of the most primitive sounds human beings have ever heard. According to Jung, sounds like these often awaken the deepest unconscious layers within us, the part that existed before language itself. When hearing the chest beat of a gorilla, we almost feel the power through the body rather than through the ears. The ground trembles softly. The air changes. The entire forest suddenly becomes tense. And yet, strangely, even this terrifying moment rarely ends in true violence, because the purpose of chest beating is not destruction. It is the prevention of violence. According to Jung, this is one of the deepest paradoxes of mature strength. It does not seek war. It creates enough presence that war becomes unnecessary. Perhaps this is something the silverback quietly understands better than many modern humans. If we observe chest beating carefully, it begins to resemble a kind of language. The sound says, "I am strong. This family is protected. Do not come closer." And most of the time, that alone is enough. According to Jung, creatures with complex social structures often learn how to reduce direct conflict, because real fighting is always dangerous. A good leader is not one who constantly battles, but one who keeps the community safe without unnecessary violence. If we think more deeply, the silverback strangely reflects one of the oldest questions within the human psyche. What is true strength? Is it the ability to destroy, or the ability to protect? According to Jung, modern humanity often confuses the two. We admire enormous power, loud voices, domination, but in nature, the beings capable of sustaining communities over long periods are often the ones who know how to restrain their strength. Perhaps the silverback is one of the most beautiful examples of this. He can be incredibly dangerous, yet most of his life is spent simply guiding the family toward food, shelter, and peace. There is something almost sorrowful in that image, because sometimes the strongest beings in nature desire only a peaceful existence. If you stand within the forest at evening, you will see the gorilla family slowly dissolving into darkness. The young curl inside leafy nests. The females rest close together, and somewhere nearby, the silverback remains awake a little longer, watching, listening, guarding the darkening forest. According to Jung, the protector always lives with a certain degree of loneliness, because such beings are rarely allowed to completely relax. Perhaps that is why the eyes of a silverback often appear so thoughtful and quiet, as though somewhere deep inside, he understands that true strength is not privilege, it is responsibility. If we reflect gently enough, the story of the silverback is not only the story of gorillas, it is an ancient story shared by all living communities, the one who guides, the one who stands between danger and family, the one who preserves stability when the world feels uncertain. And perhaps that is why, when we look at a silverback sitting quietly within the ancient forest, we do not merely see a wild animal. We see an ancient archetype, a primitive memory, and a deeply hidden part of humanity itself, a part that still longs to be protected, belong somewhere, and live peacefully beneath the presence of gentle strength. How much gorillas resemble human beings. One of the strangest moments a human being can experience is looking into the eyes of a gorilla for long enough, because somewhere within that gaze, we begin to feel something difficult to explain. It no longer feels as though we are standing before an entirely foreign animal. Instead, it feels almost as though we are meeting a very ancient relative who wandered away from us millions of years ago. Imagine a quiet afternoon within the mountain forests of Central Africa. The light fades beneath enormous trees. The air is damp and cold. A mother gorilla leans gently against a tree trunk. Her infant curls quietly within her arms. Her large hand slowly strokes the child's fur, with a tenderness that almost makes us forget the immense strength within that body. And in that moment, it becomes difficult not to feel that. This scene is somehow deeply familiar. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, human beings are often deeply moved when they see themselves reflected in the outer world. Perhaps that is why gorillas make us feel both curious and uneasy, because they resemble us too closely, not only in body, but in the way they love, protect, play, grieve, and exist within deeply emotional family bonds. According to science, gorillas share nearly all of their DNA with human beings, which means that the biological distance between us is far smaller than humanity once imagined. And yet, strangely, what makes this realization powerful is not the scientific numbers themselves, but the feeling we experience when we watch them live. If we study the face of a gorilla carefully, we begin to notice expressions that are almost impossible to misunderstand. Weariness, curiosity, caution, sometimes a quiet joy, sometimes sorrow. There are moments when an old gorilla sits silently within the forest and appears almost like a human lost in thought. According to Jung, the face is where the unconscious reveals itself most clearly. And because gorillas display emotions so familiar to us, we begin to wonder, perhaps emotion is not something belonging only to humanity. Perhaps many things we call humanity existed long before civilization itself. If we imagine a young gorilla playing, we see it rolling through the grass, tugging at its siblings, playing with branches, and suddenly tumbling over like a human child. It makes sounds almost resembling laughter. It runs around its mother, then hides within her arms when frightened. There is something almost heartbreaking in this resemblance, because the more we watch gorillas, the harder it becomes to see them merely as wild animals. According to Jung, human beings have always tried to create a clear boundary between ourselves and about too, but gorillas somehow blur that boundary. They remind us that perhaps humanity was never truly separate from the natural world at all. If we remain still long enough to observe a gorilla family, we begin to notice that their lives revolve around emotion and connection in ways deeply similar to our own. The young need to be held. Adults groom one another to strengthen bonds. Elder gorillas are respected by the group, and when one member dies, the others may become quiet for many days. According to Jung, all social beings carry a profound need, the need to belong, and gorillas clearly do not live together merely for survival. They live as a true family. Perhaps that is what caused many researchers to completely change the way they viewed them. In the past, human beings described gorillas as savage beasts, monsters, violent creatures of the jungle. But the closer we came to them, the longer we observed them, the more we discovered an almost opposite truth, that most of the time, gorillas are gentle, patient, and surprisingly sensitive. According to Jung, this is a perfect example of the shadow, the darker projections within the human psyche. We projected our primitive fears onto gorillas and transformed them into monsters. Perhaps what frightened humanity about gorillas was not how different they were from us, but how similar they were. The language of chest beating. Perhaps, among all the sounds of the ancient African rainforest, there is no sound that feels more astonishing and more primal than the chest beating of a gorilla. Imagine a late afternoon in the mist-covered forest. The light is slowly fading. The air grows colder. Mist begins drifting low between ancient trees. Everything almost dissolves into silence. And then suddenly, from somewhere deep within the forest, a deep and echoing sound moves through the mist. Boom, boom, boom. Not too fast, not chaotic, but deep, heavy, and rhythmic like ancient drums rolling through the mountains. In that moment, one almost does not hear the sound only with the ears. One feels it through the entire body. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, certain sounds possess the power to awaken the deepest layers of the unconscious. Primitive drums, thunder, the heartbeat, and perhaps the chest beating of gorillas belongs to that same ancient symbolic world. Because it is not merely noise, it is a form of language, a form of communication that existed long before human beings invented words. For many years, people believed gorillas beat their chests only to intimidate others, a display of strength, a sign of aggression. But the longer scientists observed them, the more they discovered a truth far more interesting. That chest beating is actually an extraordinarily subtle communication system. Perhaps that is what makes it so fascinating. If we watch a silverback preparing to beat his chest, we notice the entire body changing slightly. He straightens himself taller, his breathing deepens, and then his enormous hands begin striking the broad chest like a living drum. The sound travels through the forest, echoing against tree trunks, blending into the mist. According to Jung, human beings often believe communication must depend on language, but in nature, many of the most important things are expressed without words. Perhaps gorillas understand this better than we do, because chest beating does not only say, "I am strong," it also says, "I am here. This is my family. I do not wish to fight, but do not come too close." There is something strangely mature in this form of communication, a strength that does not immediately seek violence, but tries to avoid it first. According to Jung, this is a sign of deep social awareness. Truly mature beings often learn how to prevent conflict before it begins, and gorillas have clearly developed this understanding over millions of years. If we imagine the forest at night, we begin to realize that chest beating almost functions like a vast network of sound. One silverback sends a signal in the distance. Another somewhere else in the forest hears it. The sound moves through trees, mist, valleys, and darkness. Without even seeing one another, they still know who is where, which male is larger, and who protects which territory. According to Jung, before humanity lived within the world of writing, We too once lived within a world of sound and intuition like this. Perhaps, when we hear a gorilla beating its chest, an ancient part of ourselves suddenly awakens, a part that remembers. Our ancestors once understood forests through sound. If we think deeply enough, the rainforest itself almost feels like a living body. During the day, it is filled with birdsong, insects, rustling leaves. At night, the sounds become fewer, deeper, more distant, and somewhere within that world of sound, the chest beating of gorillas becomes a primitive heartbeat of the forest itself. According to Jung, nature is never truly silent. It is always communicating. Human beings have simply forgotten how to listen. Perhaps that is why those who have heard gorillas in the wild often describe the experience as almost spiritual. Not because the sound is overwhelmingly loud, but because it makes us feel that we are touching something ancient within life itself. If we observe more carefully, we discover something even more fascinating. Chest beating helps gorillas avoid real fighting, and this almost completely contradicts the violent image humans once projected onto them. Because in nature, real conflict is always dangerous. Even the strongest animal can be injured. According to Jung, psychological maturity is not found in constant battle, but in the ability to create order without destruction. Perhaps that is what the silverback is truly doing. When he beats his chest, he is not immediately seeking war. He is offering another possibility first: communication before violence. There is something almost deeply human in that. If we think longer about it, modern humanity often communicates through words. It is awe, screens, and endless noise, but gorillas communicate through presence, distance, eye contact, and brief sounds filled with meaning. According to Jung, the deepest things within the human psyche often cannot be fully expressed through language. A glance, a silence, a heartbeat, a sound echoing through the night. Perhaps that is why the chest beating of gorillas moves us so strangely deeply, because somewhere within us, it speaks in a language older than words. If we remain long enough within the mist-covered forest, we begin to realize that every sound there carries meaning. The crack of a branch, footsteps, breathing, leaves trembling in the wind, and the chest beating of gorillas almost feels like a reminder that this forest is not empty. It is filled with life listening to itself. According to Jung, modern humanity often feels lonely because we live too far from the primitive rhythms of nature. But within the ancient forest, no creature truly exists in isolation. Everything is connected through sound, movement, and presence. Perhaps gorillas understand this instinctively. Imagine an old silverback sitting quietly in darkness, listening to the forest the way ancient humans once listened to the world. Not distracted, not hurried, simply present. And then, somewhere far away, another chest beat echoes through the night. He does not panic. He does not run. He simply listens in silence, as though the entire forest is speaking through a language modern humanity has long forgotten. According to Jung, the collective unconscious of humanity still carries memories from the time when we lived closer to nature. Perhaps that is why primal sounds like gorilla chest beating still touch us so deeply, because somewhere within we still remember. We remember ancient forests, nights filled with natural sound, and the feeling of listening to the world rather than trying to overpower it. If we think gently enough, perhaps the chest beating of a gorilla is not only a sign of strength, it is an affirmation of presence, a creature speaking to the forest, "I am still here." And strangely, that is also what human beings have always longed for, to be seen, heard, and felt by one another, even within silence. As night slowly covers the mountains of Africa, the final chest beat echoes somewhere far away. Before dissolving into the mist, the forest returns to stillness. Only the soft wind moving through leaves remains. And perhaps, in that moment, we begin to understand something very ancient. The first language of life may never have been words at all, but rhythm, sound, presence, and the gentle signals living beings send one another. Through the vast darkness of this world, each gorilla has its own identity. One of the most beautiful things science has ever discovered about gorillas is the fact that no two individuals are completely alike. Imagine a quiet morning in the mountains of Central Africa. Mist still rests upon the leaves. The first light of day is soft and faint, almost dissolving into the cold air. A group of gorillas slowly moves through dense bamboo. An infant runs around its mother. An elderly gorilla sits silently beside a moss-covered tree. The silverback walks ahead, slowly clearing a path through the wet forest. At first glance, to many people, they may appear quite similar. Large bodies covered in dark fur, quiet faces, deep and peaceful eyes. But to researchers who have spent years living beside gorillas, each individual is entirely unique, not only in behavior, even upon their faces. Nature has left a personal signature. According to science, every gorilla possesses a completely unique nose pattern. Much like fingerprints in human beings, the tiny wrinkles around the nose, the shape of the nostrils, the folds, and pigmentation of the skin, no two are exactly alike. And because of this, researchers are able to recognize each gorilla individually in the wild. There is something almost deeply moving about this discovery, because it quietly reminds us that a gorilla is never merely a gorilla. Each one is an individual being, with history, with personality, with memory, with a unique way of existing within the world. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, one of the deepest human needs is the desire to be recognized as a unique individual, not as a nameless part of a crowd, but as a distinct soul. And perhaps, when we realize this is also true for gorillas, we begin to see the natural world differently. If we observe a gorilla family long enough, we slowly begin to notice that each individual carries a different atmosphere. Some are intensely curious, always wanting to move closer and observe. Some are shy, hiding behind their mothers when unfamiliar sounds appear. Some older gorillas are deeply quiet, spending hours simply watching the forest. And some young ones are playful and mischievous, behaving as though the entire world were one enormous game. According to Jung, human beings often believe personality belongs only to humanity. But in truth, all creatures with complex social lives develop distinct forms of character. Perhaps that is what makes gorillas feel so close to us, because the longer we observe them, the harder it becomes to see them as anonymous creatures. If we think deeply enough, the fact that every gorilla possesses a unique nose pattern almost feels like a beautiful symbol created by nature itself, as though nature quietly whispers. No living being was ever created as a perfect copy of another. Each life carries its own unique form. According to Jung, the process of human growth, what he called individuation, is the journey of becoming oneself, not a copy of someone else, not a mask imposed by society, but the truest version of one's own being. Perhaps what is fascinating is that even gorillas quietly carry this uniqueness within themselves. The art of building a nest each night. One of the gentlest things about gorillas is the fact that every night before sleep, they quietly build themselves a new nest. Imagine night slowly descending over the misty forests of Central Africa. The final light of sunset fades between towering trees. The air grows colder. Mist thickens around trunks covered in moss. Even the sounds of daytime begin to soften. Birdsong becomes rarer. The insects sing more deeply and steadily. And somewhere within the darkening forest, a gorilla family begins preparing for sleep. There are no caves, no permanent shelter, no house in the human sense. Instead, each gorilla builds a fresh nest every night, using leaves, young branches, and whatever the forest quietly offers them. There is something almost meditative in this act. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the rituals, repeated throughout life, often reflect the deepest needs of the soul. And perhaps the nightly nest building of gorillas is not merely a survival behavior, but also an ancient symbol of safety, rest, and the longing to find peace within a vast world. If we watch a gorilla beginning to build a nest, every movement appears surprisingly slow and intentional. It pulls soft branches closer, gently bends leafy stems, uses large hands to weave them together. No rushing, no chaos, only patience, creating a small place within the forest, where the body may finally rest after a long day. According to Jung, human beings carry within themselves the archetype of home, not merely a place that shelters us from rain or wind, but a symbol of inner safety. Perhaps that is why the image of a gorilla building a nest often touches us so strangely deeply, because somewhere inside, we too are always searching for a nest for the soul. If we think gently enough, each gorilla nest exists for only one night. By morning, they leave it behind. The forest slowly reclaims its traces. Leaves dry and fade. Branches return to the earth. Nothing is kept forever. According to Jung, all life carries impermanence within it. And perhaps gorillas quietly accept this. In the most natural way, they do not try to build things that last forever. They simply create enough warmth for the present moment. There is something almost beautiful in that silent philosophy. If we observe more carefully, we notice that every gorilla builds its nest slightly differently. Adults often choose stronger positions. Young gorillas are sometimes clumsy, dropping leaves everywhere, while trying to imitate the older ones. The silverback usually builds his nest near a place where he can still observe the family. According to Jung, the way a creature creates its place of rest often reflects its personality and role within the group. Perhaps, even in nest building, gorillas quietly reveal their individuality. Imagine a young gorilla building a nest for the very first time. It almost resembles a human child learning how to grow up. It watches its mother, watches older gorillas, then awkwardly begins pulling branches, folding leaves, trying to do what the adults do each night. Sometimes the small nest quickly collapses, and the young gorilla simply begins again. According to Jung, the deepest forms of knowledge in life are passed down through observation, imitation, and direct experience. Perhaps that is why the nest-building behavior of gorillas feels so strangely familiar to us, because humanity once learned in the same way. Before schools existed, before books existed, we learned by watching others live. If we think longer about it, a gorilla nest actually contains far more than its simple appearance suggests. It is shelter from the cold, protection from insects, a place of rest, and sometimes a place where an infant feels safe within its mother's arms. According to Jung, every living being needs a psychological safe space, a place where both body and mind can finally relax. Perhaps that is why preparing a sleeping place is so important throughout the natural world. No creature truly sleeps peacefully in fear. If you stand within the forest, while the gorilla family prepares for sleep, you begin to feel the rhythm of the forest changing. The sounds grow softer. Large bodies slowly settle into leafy nests. Young gorillas curl beside their mothers. The silverback remains awake a little longer, quietly watching the darkness around him. And finally, he too lies down, within the nest he built with his own hands. According to Jung, there is a deep healing quality within rituals before sleep. Human beings do the same. We turn off the lights, pull blankets closer, search for familiar positions, and create feelings of safety before entering the unconscious. Perhaps the nightly nest building of gorillas quietly reflects a universal need shared by all living beings, the desire to rest in peace. If we think deeply enough, What is fascinating is not merely that gorillas know how to build nests, but the fact that they plan for it. They choose locations, select materials, create structures both stable and soft. This reveals that the intelligence of gorillas does not exist only in strength or memory, but also in the ability to imagine their own future needs. According to Jung, an important part of consciousness is the ability to imagine the future, and perhaps, even through something as simple as nest building, gorillas reveal an inner depth greater than humanity once believed. If we look at a gorilla nest beneath the morning light, it appears strangely beautiful in a deeply natural way. Not perfect, not symmetrical, not built to last forever, but enough to hold a living being that needed rest for one night. According to Jung, modern humanity is often obsessed with permanence, control, and perfection, but nature often works very differently. A gorilla nest only needs to be safe enough, warm enough, and soft enough for a single night, and by morning, everything quietly begins again. Perhaps that is one of the gentlest lessons gorillas leave for humanity, that not everything beautiful must last forever. Imagine a soft rain falling upon the ancient forest at midnight. The leafy nests sway gently with the wind. Inside them, the gorillas sleep. Their breathing is deep and slow. Young ones occasionally move closer to their mothers. The entire forest almost feels like an ancient dream of peace. According to Jung, sleep is the moment when human beings return closest to their primitive selves. No more social roles, pressure, or the noise of the world. Only the body, the breath, and the need to feel safe within darkness. Perhaps that is why the image of gorillas sleeping in leafy nests creates such a powerful feeling of healing, because somewhere inside, we recognize that every living being, no matter how strong, ultimately needs a place to rest. If we think gently enough, the story of gorilla nests is not merely the story of animal behavior, it is the story of Keravodis, learning, memory, and the longing to create peace within an ever-changing world. And perhaps, each night, as gorillas quietly weave branches into small nests within the misty forest, they are doing the very thing human beings have always tried to do in their own way, creating a place warm enough for the heart to finally rest. Family, love, and connection. What moves human beings most deeply when they truly understand gorillas is not their strength, but the way they love one another. Imagine a cold morning in the mountain forests of Central Africa. Mist still hangs heavily across the trees. The first light of day slips slowly through the damp forest. A mother gorilla leans quietly against a moss-covered trunk, her infant curls within her arms, small hands still clutching the thick fur on her chest, even while asleep. There are no words, no explanations, only warmth, closeness, and a deeply ancient feeling of safety. In that moment, it becomes difficult not to feel that love within the natural world may be far closer to humanity than we once believed. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the need for connection is one of the deepest realities within the psychology of every social being. No one truly wishes to exist entirely alone, and perhaps gorillas are among the most beautiful examples of this truth, because they do not live as isolated individuals. They live as family, a true family. If we observe a gorilla family long enough, we begin to realize that most of their lives revolve around connection. Young gorillas play together for hours. Mothers constantly touch their infants. Family members sit close together while resting. Even their silence carries the feeling of belonging and presence. According to Jung, human beings often measure intelligence through language, technology, or logic, but perhaps a deeper form of intelligence lies in the ability to build and sustain emotional bonds, and gorillas clearly possess that gift. If we watch a young gorilla growing up, we see that childhood lasts surprisingly long. They do not immediately separate from their mothers, after only a few months like many other species. Instead, they cling to their mothers, sleep beside them, learn through observation, and slowly explore the world beneath the gentle protection of family. There is something almost profoundly human in this image. According to Jung, childhood is not merely a biological stage, it is the psychological foundation of an entire life. And perhaps gorillas understand this instinctively. Young gorillas need to be touched, to play, to be comforted, and to feel safe. If we imagine a young gorilla running through the forest, we see it, climbing onto the backs of siblings, playing with leaves, swinging from low branches, then suddenly returning to embrace its mother after hearing a frightening sound. According to Jung, play is an essential part of psychological development. Through play, all living beings learn boundaries, trust, communication, and how to exist beside others. Perhaps that is why the laughter of young gorillas often moves human beings so deeply, because somewhere within we recognize that sound. It resembles a memory of humanity's own childhood. If we think deeply enough, perhaps the most remarkable thing about gorillas is not only that they know how to love, but that they also know grief. When a member of the family dies, other gorillas may visibly change their behavior. They become quieter, they eat less, they remain beside the body for many hours. Sometimes, a mother gorilla may carry her dead infant for days, as though unable to accept the loss. According to Jung, grief is a sign of deep attachment. We only truly suffer when something once truly mattered. Perhaps, when human beings witness gorillas experiencing loss, we begin to understand that emotion is not something belonging only to civilization. It belongs to life itself, gorillas, and the forest ecosystem. When human beings think about gorillas, we often think of strength, silent eyes, or families living deep within mist-covered forests. But few people realize that every slow footstep a gorilla takes through the ancient forest is quietly helping the entire forest continue to live. Imagine a morning after rain in Central Africa. Water still clings to the leaves. The ground is soft and dark. Mist drifts low between ancient tree trunks. A gorilla family moves slowly through the forest. The silverback walks ahead, gently pushing branches aside. Young gorillas play behind him. The females pause to gather leaves, snap young stems, eat ripe fruit, and continue walking. At first glance, everything appears very simple. Only a gorilla family, living its ordinary life. But somewhere within each of those movements, the entire forest is quietly changing. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, human beings often imagine themselves as the center of the world. We view nature as though it were a stage where everything exists separately. Trees are trees, animals are animals, and humans stand outside of it all. But in truth, all life within nature is connected through ways almost invisible, and gorillas are an essential part of that network. Perhaps that is why many scientists call them the gardeners of the forest. If we think gently enough, gorillas do not plant trees the way humans do. They carry no shovels. They do not place seeds into soil with careful hands. But every day, through eating and moving through the forest, they quietly spread life everywhere around them. When gorillas eat fruit, the seeds pass through their immense digestive systems, then return to the forest in another place. And from those seeds, new trees slowly begin to grow. According to Jung, many of the most important things in life are not created through grand or dramatic actions, but through small movements, repeated over time. Perhaps, gorillas quietly transform the forest in exactly this way, not loudly, not through domination, not through attempts to control nature, simply by living. And through that simple existence, they help other life continue. If we observe a forest where gorillas have lived for many generations, we begin to notice narrow paths through the vegetation, not paths created by humans, but traces left by thousands of gorilla footsteps over many years. They travel along familiar routes toward food, water, or safe resting places, and gradually, those pathways become part of the structure of the forest itself. According to Jung, every living creature leaves psychological traces upon the world around it. Human beings build cities, create language, write history. But gorillas leave traces differently, through growing trees, forest trails, and the slow transformation of ecosystems. Perhaps this is a form of ancient natural architecture, older than civilization itself. If we stand completely still within such a forest, we begin to realize no living creature truly survives alone. Trees depend on animals to spread their seeds. Animals depend on trees for food and shelter. Soil depends on fallen leaves. Rain depends upon forests. And somewhere within this delicate network, gorillas quietly exist. According to Jung, modern humanity often forgets that all life is connected. We live as though we are separate from nature. But within ancient forests, the opposite truth becomes unmistakably clear. Nothing exists independently. Perhaps that is why losing gorillas does not simply mean losing one species. It means disturbing the entire forest itself. If we imagine a forest without gorillas, at first, everything may appear unchanged. The trees still stand there. Mist still moves through the trunks. Rain still falls. But slowly, something begins to shift. Some seeds are no longer carried across great distances. Trees that once depended on gorillas become rarer. Forest pathways disappear. The structure of vegetation subtly changes. According to Jung, many of the greatest losses in life do not arrive like explosions, but like a silence slowly spreading outward. Perhaps that is also how ecosystems grieve, not dramatically, only by gradually losing balance. If we think deeply enough, gorillas resemble invisible caretakers of the ancient forest. They do not dominate nature. They do not seek to control it, the way human beings often do. Instead, they live within the ecosystem, as part of the natural flow of life itself. According to Jung, primitive humanity once felt that it belonged to nature rather than standing above it. But modern civilization often makes us forget that feeling. Perhaps that is why stories about gorillas carry such a strangely healing quality, because they remind us of another way to exist, not conquering the world, but living in harmony with it. If we watch a gorilla eating fruit within the forest, we almost never imagine that such a simple action might influence the future of the entire forest. But nature has always moved through these small connections. A seed carried several kilometers away, a tree growing years later, a bird making its home there, another creature finding food nearby. According to Jung, every act of life creates circles of influence wider than we realize. Perhaps that is another gentle lesson gorillas quietly offer humanity, that sometimes our presence within the world matters more than what we try to control. If we stand within the forest at sunset, we see the dark silhouettes of gorillas moving slowly through the mist. No rushing, no loud disturbance, only the continuation of an ancient journey through the rainforest. And somewhere beneath the damp soil, seeds from yesterday are already waiting for the day they will grow. According to Jung, nature always moves through cycles: birth, growth, disappearance, and rebirth. Gorillas do not merely live within that cycle, they quietly help the cycle continue. Perhaps that is the most beautiful thing about the role of gorillas within the forest. They do not need to know they are important. They do not need awareness that an entire ecosystem partly depends upon their existence. They simply live, and that honest form of living becomes a gift to the world around them. If we think gently enough, modern humanity often wishes to leave marks through great monuments, aim, or power, but gorillas leave traces differently, more quietly, more slowly, and more deeply woven into nature itself. A seed growing into a tree, a trail through the forest, a landscape changing across generations. According to Jung, the most enduring things in life often do not come through force, but through harmony. Perhaps gorillas understand this instinctively. As night slowly covers the mountains of Africa, the forest gradually disappears into darkness. The insects sing more steadily. Mist thickens between the trees, and somewhere within the darkness, a gorilla family sleeps peacefully inside leafy nests. Around them, the forest quietly continues to grow, to breathe, and to renew itself, partly because of those gentle giant creatures. Perhaps that is what gorillas truly represent. Not the power to dominate nature, but the ability to live so deeply within it that one's very existence quietly nourishes the world around them. Gorilla species and subspecies. When human beings speak about gorillas, we often imagine a single creature, a familiar image, a massive body covered in black fur, quiet eyes, and slow footsteps through the ancient forests of Africa. But if we look more deeply, we begin to realize that the world of gorillas is also diverse, fragile, and filled with difference, much like humanity itself. Because not all gorillas live the same way, not all forests are alike, and not every story of survival reaches a safe ending. According to science, gorillas are divided into two main groups: Eastern gorillas and Western gorillas. And within those groups, there are 4 surviving subspecies on Earth today. Each lives within different forests, different climates, and vastly different conditions of survival. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, one of humanity's greatest illusions is the desire to see everything as uniform. We say, humanity, animals, nature, as though every individual within those categories were the same. But in truth, life is always more diverse than it first appears, and gorillas quietly remind us of this. If we imagine the forests of Western Africa, we discover a world very different. From the mist-covered mountains where mountain gorillas live, the forests there are lower, warmer, and more humid. Fruit is more abundant. Light filters through the canopy differently, and Western gorillas are subtly different as well. Slightly smaller, more agile, and adapted to their own environment across thousands of years. Meanwhile, Eastern gorillas, especially mountain gorillas, live within far colder elevations. The mist is thicker, the terrain steeper, the food different. Their fur grows denser to protect them from the cold. According to Jung, every living being is shaped by the environment in which it lives. No creature exists separately from the world around it. Perhaps that is why each gorilla group carries its own unique survival personality. If we think deeply enough, the diversity among gorillas almost resembles the diversity among human beings themselves. A shared ancient ancestor, yet over time, each community adapted to climate, geography, food sources, and different challenges. According to Jung, this is also how human psychology develops. Every culture, every community, every individual is shaped by environment and experience. Perhaps that is why understanding gorillas often helps us understand ourselves more deeply. If we stand within the forests of Central Africa at morning, we begin to feel that every forest carries a different soul. Some are cold and silent, wrapped in mist like a dream. Others are humid, filled with insect song, and scented with ripe fruit in the air. And somewhere within each kind of forest, gorillas slowly evolved to belong perfectly to the world around them. According to Jung, life survives not by resisting nature, but through adaptation. Perhaps that is one of the deepest lessons gorillas quietly carry. That true strength does not always mean overpowering the environment. Sometimes it means learning how to live within it, strength accompanied by gentleness. One of humanity's greatest misunderstandings about gorillas is the belief that strength must always be accompanied by aggression. When people see a fully grown silverback with a chest as broad as a tree trunk, enormous arms, and a body weighing hundreds of kilograms. Many immediately feel fear. Within the imagination of the modern world, a powerful creature is often associated with violence, loss of control, and danger. But strangely, the more we understand gorillas, the more we realize that their true strength does not lie in the ability to destroy. It lies in the ability to remain gentle. Imagine a quiet afternoon within the misty forests of Central Africa. A silverback sits inside a small clearing covered with wet leaves. The final light of day is soft. Mist drifts silently between ancient trees. Beside this enormous creature, a tiny young gorilla clumsily climbs onto his back. The silverback could accidentally harm the small creature with only a single careless movement, but instead, he almost slows himself down. A massive arm gently steadies the infant to keep it from falling. Silent eyes follow every small movement. There is something deeply moving in this image. A creature strong enough to break thick branches with bare hands, choosing tenderness toward the weakest life beside him. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, true psychological maturity is not measured by how strong one becomes, but by how one chooses to control that strength. Perhaps gorillas quietly understand this better than humanity once believed. If we observe gorillas in the wild long enough, we begin to realize that most of their lives are actually peaceful. They eat, rest, play, care for their young, groom one another, and quietly exist within the forest. The violent battles human beings often imagine are, in reality, quite rare. According to Jung, human beings frequently project their own shadow onto nature. We fear the aggression within ourselves, and so we imagine that other powerful creatures must also be ruled by rage and violence. Perhaps that is why gorillas were once imagined as monsters of the jungle, not because they truly were, but because humanity saw its own fear reflected within them. If we think deeply enough, perhaps the most fascinating thing about gorillas is the contrast between immense physical power and the way they behave toward weaker beings. A silverback can tear apart branches, beat his chest so loudly it echoes through the forest, or charge forward with terrifying force. And yet, that same creature may quietly sit for hours, allowing a sleeping infant to rest in his arms. According to Jung, every living being carries within itself both strength and softness. Maturity does not mean destroying one of them. It means learning how to let both exist together without destroying each other. Perhaps the gorilla is a beautiful symbol of that balance. If we observe how gorillas respond to tension, something surprising becomes clear. They usually attempt to avoid conflict first. Chest beating, eye contact, body posture, all are often signals intended to prevent real violence from happening. According to Jung, this reflects a deep form of social consciousness. The more mature a creature becomes, the more it understands that violence always carries a cost. Perhaps that is something modern humanity sometimes forgets. We often confuse aggression with strength, domination with power, and destruction with victory, while gorillas quietly demonstrate the opposite, that the greatest strength may lie in the ability not to use one's strength at all. Imagine a mother gorilla holding her infant during cold rain. It becomes an image that almost dissolves every old stereotype. Thick fur soaked with rainwater, the infant pressed closely against her chest, large arms wrapped around the tiny body like a living blanket. There is nothing savage in that moment, only protection. According to Jung, the instinct to protect what is vulnerable is one of the deepest expressions of love. Perhaps that is why human beings are often so moved when watching gorillas care for their young, because somewhere inside, we recognize something deeply familiar, not the difference between animal and human, but the similarity shared by every heart capable of love. If we think longer about it, the story of gorillas actually asks humanity a profound question. What is true strength? Is it the ability to make others afraid, or the ability to make weaker beings feel safe beside you? According to Jung, the most dangerous part of the human shadow appears when we worship strength, while separating it from compassion. At that moment, power becomes domination. Perhaps that is why gorillas carry an almost dignified presence. Because their strength rarely needs constant demonstration. A silverback does not endlessly attack others. To prove his position, his presence alone is enough to maintain order within the family. There is something deeply calm in that kind of power. If you stand within the forest and watch a silverback resting, you begin to realize the strongest creature in the group is often the calmest one. He does not constantly move. He does not create chaos. He does not seek meaningless conflict. According to Jung, this is the sign of genuine inner strength. Those who are truly strong do not need to constantly prove it. Perhaps that is one of the lessons gorillas quietly offer modern humanity. In a world where everyone struggles to become louder, faster, and more dominant, gorillas exist in the opposite way, slow, steady, and deeply self-controlled. If we think gently enough, perhaps the most beautiful thing about gorillas is not their muscles or their size, but the fact that a creature so powerful can still remain gentle. That almost feels like a profound hope for humanity itself, that strength and kindness are not opposites. According to Jung, human beings only truly mature when they learn how to reconcile the wild instinct and the moral consciousness within themselves. Perhaps gorillas somehow reflect that struggle in its most primitive form. They carry within themselves the strength of nature, but also the softness of connection and care. Imagine night slowly descending across the forests of Africa. A silverback lies quietly beside his family. Young gorillas sleep near him. The forest slowly dissolves into the deep, steady sounds of night. The creature that could be the most terrifying in the forest has now become the safest place for the entire family. According to Jung, every being carries within itself the ability to destroy and to protect. What defines our true nature is the choice we repeat every day. Perhaps that is what gorillas quietly teach humanity, that the most beautiful form of strength is not the kind that makes the world tremble in fear, but the kind strong enough to remain gentle within a world full of chaos, a body perfectly evolved for the ancient forest. When we watch a gorilla moving through the rainforest, we are not merely looking at an animal, we are looking at millions of years of evolution, carved directly into the body of a living being. Imagine an early morning in the misty forests of Central Africa. The ground is still wet after the night rain. The air is cold and filled with the scent of fallen leaves. Dim light slips through towering layers of trees, forming pale blue-gray streaks within the mist. A silverback slowly emerges from dense vegetation. Its enormous body almost blends into the darkness of the forest. At first glance, it appears heavy, but then it begins to move, slowly, softly, and surprisingly, gracefully. Long arms press against the earth through the knuckles. Massive shoulder muscles move rhythmically. Each step is stable, yet almost completely silent. And in that moment, we suddenly feel that this body is not accidental. It was shaped precisely for the world in which it lives. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the body is not merely a biological machine. It is a living memory of evolution, of environment, and of the way a creature learns to survive through time. Perhaps that is what makes the body of a gorilla feel almost mythical, because every part of it tells a story about the forest itself. If we study the arms of a gorilla carefully, we notice that they are far longer than the legs. This makes the gorilla's body appear entirely different from a human being's. But within dense forests filled with trees, it is almost a perfect design. Those long arms help them climb, pull branches, balance themselves, and move efficiently across difficult terrain. According to Jung, every creature eventually becomes a reflection of its environment, and gorillas are clearly creatures of the rainforest, not of open plains, not of deserts, but of a world that is wet, crowded with vegetation, and constantly shifting vertically through branches and slopes. Perhaps that is why, when watching gorillas climb, we almost feel as though they are floating through the forest, despite bodies so immense. If we think deeply enough, the way gorillas walk upon their knuckles, knuckle walking, is one of the most fascinating things about them. Human beings walk upright on two legs. Many animals walk across the full surface of the foot, but gorillas support their enormous bodies upon the joints of their hands, moving gently and steadily. According to Jung, human beings often imagine evolution as a race toward perfection, but nature does not search for absolute perfection. It searches for what is sufficient for survival, and the body of a gorilla is precisely the result of that adaptation. Not slender according to human standards, not fast like a leopard, not capable of flight like a bird, but perfectly suited to the rhythm of the rainforest. Perhaps that is the most beautiful thing about evolution. No creature needs to become something other than itself. If we remain within the forest long enough, we begin to realize that gorillas are not clumsy at all. Despite weighing hundreds of kilograms, they can climb steep mountainsides, move across fallen trees, pass through dense vegetation, and travel almost silently. According to Jung, true strength often carries the appearance of calmness. It does not constantly display itself. Perhaps that is why gorillas move with an almost dignified quality. No rushing, no chaos, only a deep harmony with the world around them. If we observe the jaws of a gorilla, we see a strength that feels almost terrifying. Massive jaws, powerful chewing muscles, teeth adapted for grinding, tough leaves, thick stems, and fibrous vegetation. And yet, strangely, a creature so powerful lives mostly on plants. This often astonishes human beings. According to Jung, people frequently associate strength with hunting and violence, but gorillas quietly dissolve that illusion. Their power comes from patience, is digestion, and the ability to survive from the simplest gifts of the forest. Perhaps that too is a profound lesson for humanity, that not all strength must be built upon destruction, diet, and a life centered around food. One of the things that surprises human beings most about gorillas is the fact that a creature so immensely powerful spends most of its life simply eating leaves. No hunting, no chasing, no violent battles like many once imagined. Only tender leaves, plant stems, fresh shoots, and long, quiet meals within the ancient forest. Imagine a morning in the misty forests of Central Africa. Mist still hangs low above the ground. The air is cold and damp. The first light of day feels soft and faded, as though dissolving into the deep green of the trees. A family of gorillas slowly awakens from the leafy nests where they slept through the night. No one is rushing. There is no chaos. A mother gorilla pulls a branch closer to herself and begins chewing wet leaves. An infant imitates her, though at times it plays with the leaves more than it truly eats. The silverback sits quietly ahead of them, slowly breaking young stems apart with enormous hands. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the way a creature eats often reflects the rhythm of its inner world. And perhaps gorillas live slowly precisely because their existence revolves around absorbing, not conquering. If we think deeply enough, gorillas spend most of the day eating, not because they are greedy, but because plant food contains relatively little energy compared to meat. To sustain their enormous bodies, they must continually consume leaves, stems, bark, fruit, and fiber-rich vegetation. According to Jung, modern humanity is often obsessed with speed, efficiency, and productivity. But gorillas exist within an entirely different rhythm, a slow rhythm, repetitive, almost meditative. Perhaps that is why watching gorillas eat often creates such a strangely peaceful feeling, because they do not eat as though fighting against time. They simply remain present, with food and with the forest. If you stand near a gorilla while it eats, you hear only the smallest sounds, leaves being torn, soft cracks of stems breaking, and the steady rhythm of chewing within the silence of the rainforest. There is none of the urgency of predators, no adrenaline, only a deep and quiet rhythm of life. According to Jung, ancient human beings once lived far closer to the natural rhythm of the body, eating when hungry, resting when tired, moving according to weather and light. Perhaps gorillas somehow still preserve that ancient rhythm, while modern humanity has drifted far away from it. If we think longer about it, what is truly fascinating is this. Although gorillas possess immense physical power, their diet remains surprisingly gentle. A silverback can break apart thick branches, yet most of his strength comes from green leaves, fresh shoots, and plants quietly growing within the forest. According to Jung, this almost feels like a beautiful psychological symbol. That true strength does not necessarily need to be nourished by violence. Perhaps that is what gorillas quietly encourage humanity to reconsider. We often associate power with aggression, but gorillas reveal the opposite, that a creature may be immensely strong while remaining deeply connected to the peace of nature. If we examine the digestive system of a gorilla, we discover that it is almost perfectly designed for a world of plants, large stomachs, long intestines, microorganisms that help break down fiber. Their entire bodies evolved to draw energy from things human beings could scarcely survive upon. According to Jung, every creature carries within itself a kind of wisdom of the body, a form of understanding that does not require language. The gorilla's body knows how to live within the forest, knows how to receive nourishment from its surroundings, knows how to survive without destroying the very world that sustains it. Perhaps that is something modern humanity has slowly forgotten. We consume too quickly, too much, and we often forget the relationship between ourselves, our food, and nature itself. Imagine a mountain gorilla eating bamboo leaves. Within cold drifting mist, the image almost resembles an ancient ritual. Massive arms slowly pulling branches closer, steady chewing, eyes half closed in quiet stillness. There is no feeling of possession, only participation within the natural flow of life. According to Jung, one of the reasons modern people remain so restless is because we are rarely fully present within the moment we are living. Even while eating, the mind continues to worry, hurry, or wander elsewhere. Perhaps that is why watching gorillas eat often feels strangely meditative, because they simply do what the moment asks of them, no more, no less. If we think gently enough, gorillas actually spend their lives centered around very simple things: finding food, resting, caring for family, and moving through the forest. No status, no money, no endless ambition. According to Jung, modern humanity often creates countless false needs to fill an inner emptiness. But nature almost always moves more simply than that. Perhaps gorillas quietly remind us of a simpler version of existence, a version in which enough food, enough safety, and enough connection are already enough for a complete life. If we observe young gorillas learning to eat, they appear incredibly similar to human children. They imitate their mothers, experiment with different leaves, play with food, and slowly learn what is safe to eat within the vast forest. According to Jung, the most important forms of knowledge are first passed down through observation, imitation, and closeness within the family. Perhaps that is why the sight of a mother gorilla teaching her infant to eat, often feels almost filled with love. No words are necessary, only enough time spent beside one another. If we think more deeply, food, within the gorilla world, is not merely energy. It is what connects them to the trees, the rainy seasons, the terrain, and the entire ecosystem surrounding them. Some gorillas eat more fruit because they live in forests rich with fruit-bearing trees. Others depend heavily upon leaves and stems because their environments are colder and more limited. According to Jung, the identity of every creature is intertwined with the place that nourishes it. No being exists independently from its environment. Perhaps that is why destroying forests is not merely the loss of trees, it is the breaking of a profound bond between gorillas and the world that shaped them. If you stand within the rainforest near evening, you will see the family of gorillas still quietly feeding before darkness fully arrives. Slow movements, soft sounds, the scent of green leaves and damp earth within the cold air. According to Jung, there is a profound peace when a living creature moves in harmony with nature, not resisting it, not running faster than it, simply existing beside it. Perhaps that is what gorillas awaken within human beings, without us always realizing it. A longing for a life with less chaos, less noise, and closer to the ancient rhythm of the body itself. If we think deeply enough, the story of the gorilla's diet is not merely a biological story. It is a story about slowness, sufficiency, and the relationship between a living being and the world that nourishes it. A creature so powerful does not need to chase the entire world in order to survive. It needs only the forest, the leaves, time, and the ancient balance between body and nature. As night slowly descends upon the mountains of Africa, the last gorillas finish eating and begin building sleeping nests among trees and mist. The forest becomes quieter, and somewhere within that darkness, we suddenly feel that perhaps the most beautiful form of life is not the life that always wants more, but the life that knows how to receive enough from the world, slowly, gratefully, and peacefully. Intelligence and the ability to learn. One of the things that leaves humanity both astonished and unsettled about gorillas is the fact that the longer we observe them, the harder it becomes to believe that intelligence belongs only to human beings. Imagine a quiet morning deep within the rainforests of Central Africa. Mist still rests upon enormous leaves. The early light is soft and green, as though the forest itself has not yet fully awakened. A mother gorilla sits in a small clearing covered with fallen leaves. Beside her, an infant watches every movement carefully. The way she breaks a stem, the way she selects tender leaves, the way she pulls branches closer without snapping them entirely. The infant tries to imitate her, clumsy, slow, but deeply focused. And within that very small moment, we suddenly realize this is not merely instinct. This is learning. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, intelligence is not only the ability to solve equations, build machines, or invent technology. There exists another kind of wisdom, older, more ancient, connected to observation, memory, emotion, and the ability to live among other beings. And perhaps gorillas possess precisely that kind of intelligence. If we observe gorillas in the wild long enough, we begin to notice that they learn almost everything through observation. Young gorillas watch adults, build nests, search for food, respond to danger, and care for family. Then slowly, those behaviors become part of themselves. According to Jung, ancient humans once learned in exactly the same way. Before schools existed, before books existed, life passed knowledge onward through presence, imitation, and time spent together. Perhaps that is why watching gorillas learn often feels strangely familiar to us, because somewhere very deep inside, we remember that Our own ancestors once grew in the same way. If we think gently enough, the memory of gorillas is actually remarkable. They remember pathways through the forest, seasonal food locations, the position of water sources, and every member of the family. A silverback may recognize subtle changes in the behavior of the entire group. A mother gorilla remembers safe places to raise her young. According to Jung, memory is not merely the storage of information, it is the foundation of identity itself. Perhaps, when gorillas remember the forest, they are not only remembering places, they are remembering where they once slept, where a family member was lost, where food appears during the rainy season, and the familiar paths of an entire lifetime. If you stand within the misty forest and watch gorillas move, you realize that they rarely become lost. No maps, no compass, only memory, instinct, and a deep understanding of the environment around them. According to Jung, true intelligence is often inseparable from the body and from nature. Modern humanity frequently imagines intelligence as something existing only inside the mind, but gorillas quietly reveal that wisdom also lives within the hands, the footsteps, bodily memory, and the bond between a creature and its world. If we think longer about it, one of the most fascinating things about gorillas is their ability to use simple tools. They may use branches to test the depth of water, pull objects closer, or help themselves move across difficult terrain. At first glance, these may seem like small actions, but, according to Jung, the moment a creature begins using the external world to extend its own abilities, marks a profound step in consciousness. Perhaps that is why such behaviors move us so deeply, because they reflect something very ancient about ourselves. If we imagine the ancestors of humanity millions of years ago, perhaps they too once picked up branches, observed their elders, learned through trial and error, and slowly realized that the world itself could become a tool for survival. According to Jung, the collective unconscious of humanity still carries memories of those primitive transformations. Perhaps that is why when we see gorillas using tools, we do not simply see animals. We see a distant mirror of ourselves. If we think deeply enough, the story of gorillas learning sign language in captivity opens another emotional layer entirely. Some gorillas have learned hand signs, simple symbols, and basic communication with humans. They may express needs, recognize names, and even communicate simple emotions. And this leaves many people both amazed and uncomfortable, because suddenly the line between intelligent human and instinctive animal no longer appears as clear as we once believed. According to Jung, human beings often need the feeling of being completely different in order to protect the ego, but gorillas quietly soften that boundary. Perhaps that is why the eyes of gorillas so often unsettle us, because within those eyes we see something closer to ourselves than we wish to admit. Body language and subtle communication. One of the most delicate things about gorillas is the fact that most of what matters most between them is never spoken through loud sounds. There is no language like that of humans, no sentence, no long debates, but somewhere between eye contact, body posture, breathing, and the smallest silences, an entire emotional world still quietly moves. Imagine a late afternoon in the misty forests of Central Africa. The final light of day is slowly fading. Mist drifts between moss-covered trees. A family of gorillas rests in a quiet clearing. At first glance, everything appears almost motionless. A mother gorilla holds her infant close. The silverback leans calmly against a massive tree. Several others quietly groom one another. But if you observe more carefully, you begin to realize the entire family is constantly communicating. A brief glance, a tiny shift of the shoulders, a soft grunt, almost too quiet to hear, a silence lasting slightly longer than usual. And somehow, every individual understands. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, most genuine communication between human beings has never existed entirely within words. People sense tension, tenderness, fear, or anger through tiny signals before anyone even begins to speak. Perhaps that is why observing gorillas often leaves us unsettled, because they reflect a form of ancient communication that modern humanity has partly forgotten. If we look into the eyes of a gorilla, we encounter something almost impossible to describe. Not merely looking, but a very deep kind of observation. A silverback may quietly monitor the entire family with nothing more than calm eyes. A mother gorilla instantly recognizes when her infant feels anxious. Another individual understands that it should not move any closer, simply from the silverback's gaze. According to Jung, the eyes are among the clearest expressions of the inner world, because eyes rarely lie completely. Perhaps that is why the eyes of gorillas often move human beings so deeply, not because they are human-like, but because within them we recognize attention, presence, and genuine feeling. If we think deeply enough, gorillas live within extremely subtle social communities, and to preserve peace, they must constantly read one another's emotional states. A small change in posture may signal discomfort, anxiety, or warning. A brief sound may cause the entire family to become alert immediately. According to Jung, every living community depends upon the ability to sense the atmosphere. Human beings call this social intuition, and gorillas clearly possess it at a profound level. Perhaps that is why gorilla groups rarely collapse into meaningless chaos, because most tension is recognized before it erupts into conflict. If we observe two adult gorillas facing one another, something surprising becomes clear. Many conflicts actually end before a fight truly begins. One individual may avoid direct eye contact, lower its body, or subtly step backward. The other understands the signal, and the tension dissolves. According to Jung, psychological maturity does not lie in winning every battle, but in recognizing which battles never need to happen. Perhaps gorillas quietly understand that better than many human beings do. If we think longer about it, modern humanity often underestimates silence. We fear emptiness. We fear moments without words. But in the world of gorillas, silence itself becomes a form of communication. A silverback sitting quietly yet alert. A mother pulling her infant closer when danger is sensed. An individual silently leaving an area filled with tension. According to Jung, the human unconscious continuously reads such signals, even when conscious awareness does not. Perhaps that is why people can sometimes feel the atmosphere of a room before understanding what is happening. Gorillas live almost entirely through that kind of perception. Imagine a quiet night in the forest. The family is preparing to sleep. Insects hum steadily through the darkness. No one speaks, yet the silverback remains awake, quietly watching the surroundings. An infant shifts closer to its mother. Another gorilla changes posture slightly after hearing a distant sound. According to Jung, there exists a deeper layer of communication beyond language, a form of emotional synchronization between living beings who have remained close to one another long enough. Perhaps that is what makes gorilla families feel so deeply connected. They do not need to constantly explain themselves. They feel one another. If we think gently enough, the most beautiful thing about gorilla communication may be the fact that they often choose peace over conflict. Though powerful enough to cause great harm, most gorillas avoid direct violence whenever possible. Chest beating, vocal sounds, body posture. These are often ways to prevent real fighting from occurring. According to Jung, every mature creature understands a very deep truth. Violence always leaves scars. Perhaps that is why gorillas carry an almost dignified presence. They do not constantly seek domination through chaos. Their presence alone is enough to maintain balance. If we watch a silverback leading the group, its authority feels strangely quiet. No shouting, no endless punishment, only the way it sits, the calmness in its gaze, and its steady composure. According to Jung, the highest form of power is often the form that does not need to endlessly prove itself. Perhaps that is the lesson gorillas quietly reflect to modern humanity. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, wants to win, wants to dominate the conversation, gorillas reveal something different. Sometimes calmness itself is strength. If we think deeply enough, the story of gorilla body language is not merely a zoological story. It is a story about sensitivity, intuition, and the ability to read emotion within life itself. Modern humanity often prides itself on complex language, yet at the same time, we frequently misunderstand one another, wound one another, and fail to truly listen. Meanwhile, gorillas live primarily through presence, observation, and subtle emotional awareness. Perhaps that is why watching them sometimes feels almost meditative, because they remind us of a form of communication older than speech itself. If you stand in the rainforest, as night mist slowly settles, you will see the gorilla family quietly disappear into darkness. There are few sounds, no long conversations, yet somewhere within, the final glance before sleep, the distance between bodies, and the gentle stillness of the forest, an invisible network of feeling still exists. According to Jung, human beings deeply long to understand and to be understood. Perhaps gorillas move us, not because they speak like humans, but because they reveal that true understanding sometimes requires very few words, only attention, presence, and a heart quiet enough fair to feel another being. And perhaps that is the most beautiful thing. Gorillas quietly teach us that peace does not begin with victory. It begins with the ability to notice one another's feelings before everything becomes conflict. The childhood of gorillas. Perhaps nothing softens the human heart more than seeing childhood exist inside a wild creature, because somewhere very deep inside, every adult still carries distant memories of a time when they were curious, playful, quick to laugh, and in need of being held, to feel safe. And strangely, when we watch young gorillas playing in the rainforest, it almost feels as though we are witnessing a very ancient childhood of humanity itself. Imagine a morning in the misty forests of Central Africa. The first sunlight is soft, passing through layers of leaves as pale green beams. A mother gorilla rests against a massive tree. Beside her, a young infant suddenly rushes toward its older sibling, awkwardly climbs onto its back, and both tumble into the wet leaves below. They chase one another, pull branches, attempt to climb fallen logs, then collapse clumsily into the earth. And somewhere between their tiny breaths, we hear a strange sound, a kind of laughter, not exactly human, yet similar enough to instantly soften the human heart. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, play is not something secondary to life. It is a profoundly important part of psychological development. Through play, young creatures learn limits, trust, relationships, and how to exist within the world. Perhaps that is why the childhood of gorillas feels so beautiful, because it reflects something very ancient that human beings once experienced too. If we observe young gorillas long enough, we realize that they are incredibly curious. A strange leaf, a moving branch, a tiny insect, any of these may become a game lasting for hours. According to Jung, Curiosity is the natural expression of a growing mind. Children do not explore the world for productivity. They explore because the world itself fills them with wonder. Perhaps young gorillas still preserve that primitive form of presence, a state in which everything feels new, everything deserves to be touched, and life has not yet been divided, say, by anxiety or responsibility. If we think gently enough, the way gorilla infants play is not meaningless at all. When they wrestle, chase each other, climb, or test their strength together, they are learning bodily balance, social responses, and the limits of themselves. According to Jung, play is the language of growth. Human beings learn how to become human through play, and gorillas do too. Perhaps that is why when we watch gorilla infants at play, we do not merely see animals, we see life itself, learning how to become what it is meant to be. Gorillas, in the eyes of humanity, perhaps one of the saddest things about the history between humans and gorillas is the fact that, for a very long time, human beings never truly saw gorillas as they really were. We saw them through fear, imagination, and the shadows within our own minds. If we return to the earliest centuries, when Europeans first heard stories about gorillas, the deep forests of Africa almost felt like a mythical world. Mist, strange sounds in the night, gigantic creatures rarely seen directly by humans. And somewhere inside that lack of understanding, gorillas slowly became monsters of the jungle, violent beasts, half human, half animal creatures, symbols of frightening wildness. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, human beings often project the parts of themselves they do not understand onto the outside world. Jung called this the shadow. What we fear, we often transform into monsters. Perhaps gorillas became a giant screen onto which humanity projected fear of instinct, primitive strength, and the wildness hidden within ourselves. If we think deeply enough, what made gorillas so unsettling to humans was not only their size, it was their disturbing familiarity. Eyes, too human. Hands, too human. The way they hold their infants, look at one another, and express emotion. All of it made people simultaneously fascinated and uneasy. According to Jung, human beings often fear most deeply the things that reflect themselves. Perhaps that is why gorillas in old stories and films were so often exaggerated into savage, uncontrollable, violent creatures. Not because gorillas truly were like that, but because they represented the instinctive side that civilized humanity was always trying to suppress. If we imagine an audience sitting in a movie theater decades ago, watching a giant roaring gorilla on the screen, we begin to understand they were not merely watching an animal, they were looking at collective fears about nature, primal power, and the uncivilized parts of themselves. According to Jung, modern civilization often builds its identity by separating itself from nature. We want to believe that we are more rational, more controlled, and more advanced than the wild world. But gorillas quietly blur that boundary. Perhaps that is why they are both deeply attractive and deeply uncomfortable to human beings. If we think gently enough, the great change only began when humans finally spent enough time truly observing gorillas. Not through myths, not through fear, but through patience, presence, and study. And slowly, a completely different image emerged. Not monsters, but families, emotional individuals, creatures capable of love, grief, and care for one another. According to Jung, healing always begins when we dare to face what we once feared. Perhaps that is what science eventually did with gorillas. Humanity stopped seeing them only as symbols and began seeing them as themselves. If we speak about the person who transformed the world's perception of gorillas, it becomes difficult not to mention Dian Fossey, a woman who chose to live among the mountains of Central Africa, spending years observing gorillas within the silence of mist and ancient trees. At first, the gorillas feared her, but slowly, through almost unimaginable patience, she became a familiar presence in the forest. According to Jung, to truly understand another living being, human beings must temporarily release the need to dominate it. Perhaps that is what Dian Fossey did. She did not try to conquer gorillas. She simply remained present long enough for them to allow themselves to be seen. Imagine a cold morning in the forests of the Virunga Mountains. Dian Fossey sits quietly in the mist, watching a mother gorilla holding her infant. No loud sounds, no dramatic moment, only a family, a gentle moment, and life continuing quietly through the rainforest. Yet moments like these changed the way the entire world saw gorillas. According to Jung, truth often does not arrive through dramatic revelation. It arrives through watching long enough for fear and prejudice to slowly fall away. Perhaps that is what happened when humanity finally observed gorillas through empathy rather than fear. If we think deeply enough, the most beautiful realization that Dian Fossey helped bring into the world may be this: gorillas were never monsters. They were individuals, each one possessing personality, history, relationships, and emotion. Some more curious, some more shy, some playful, some quiet and thoughtful. According to Jung, this is an essential step in the development of moral consciousness. When human beings stop seeing other creatures as anonymous masses and begin seeing individuals. Perhaps that is why researchers who spent years with gorillas often grieved deeply when one died, because after enough time, a gorilla no longer felt like an animal. It became a being with memories, emotions, and a unique presence in the world. If we think longer about it, the story of gorillas in human eyes is also the story of humanity's own maturation. At first, we fear what we do not understand. Then we transform it into a monster, and eventually, we learn how to observe, listen, and recognize the depth within it. According to Jung, every journey towards psychological maturity passes through reconciliation with the shadow. Perhaps gorillas somehow became part of that process for humanity itself, because when humans stopped seeing gorillas as monsters, we simultaneously confronted the primitive side within ourselves and discovered that it did not contain only violence. It also contained family, tenderness, and the capacity to love. If you stand in the rainforest, as night slowly descends, you will see the final gorillas disappear into the mist, not roaring like movie monsters, not raging without reason, only creatures, tired after a long day, holding their infants close and quietly preparing to sleep in the forest darkness. According to Jung, what human beings fear most deeply is often what helps us understand ourselves most profoundly. Perhaps that is why the story of gorillas touches so many hearts, because somewhere inside those quiet eyes, we do not merely see an animal, we see humanity's fear, humanity's ability to change its perception, and the hope that people may still learn to view the world through empathy rather than prejudice. And perhaps that is the most beautiful thing. Gorillas quietly teach us that sometimes what is called a monster is simply a living being that has never truly been understood. The threats still unfolding. Perhaps one of the saddest truths about gorillas is the fact that their greatest danger does not come from predators in the rainforest. It comes from the human world. Imagine a morning in the mountain forests of Central Africa. Mist still hangs thick between ancient trees. A gorilla family slowly moves along paths their ancestors have followed for generations. Young gorillas play behind the group. The silverback leads with familiar calmness. At first glance, everything appears unchanged, from thousands of years ago. But somewhere beyond that forest, the world is changing, faster than ever before. Chainsaws, roads cutting through ancient jungle, smoke from war, traps hidden beneath fallen leaves, and diseases carried by human beings themselves. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, one of the greatest tragedies of modern humanity is that we often forget we do not stand outside nature. We are part of it. Yet at the same time, we possess the power to destroy it on an unprecedented scale. Perhaps that is why the story of gorillas feels both beautiful and heartbreaking. Because the more we understand how gentle they truly are, the more we realize how fragile their world has become before human power. If we think deeply enough, habitat loss may be the greatest threat of all. The forest is not simply where gorillas live. The forest is food, shelter, movement pathways, family memory, and the entirety of their world. When trees are cut down, gorillas do not simply move somewhere else. A part of their existence disappears. According to Jung, every living being needs the feeling of belonging somewhere. Humans call this home, and gorillas have homes too. Mist-covered forests, ancient trails between trees, places where mothers raised infants, clearings where families slept through many rainy seasons. Perhaps that is why losing forests is not merely losing trees, it is losing the memory of a species. If we imagine a forest divided by roads and extraction, the most terrible thing becomes visible. The silence itself changes. Ancient migration routes vanish. Food becomes scarcer. Families become separated from one another. According to Jung, when the bond between a living being and its environment is broken, a kind of psychological fracture occurs as well. Perhaps that is what is silently happening to many gorilla populations. Not dramatically, just slowly. Less space, less food, and less future. If we think longer about it, one heartbreaking truth is this: gorillas often do not understand the dangers created by humans. A snare meant for another animal may still destroy the hand or foot of a gorilla. A curious infant may wander into a trap. A silverback protecting its family may be gravely injured. According to Jung, human beings often create the greatest suffering, not through direct cruelty, but through disconnection from the consequences of their own actions. Perhaps that is the tragedy of the modern world. The distance between consumers, war, and resource extraction, and the suffering of nature has become too vast for many people to still feel. If we imagine an injured adult gorilla, there is a very quiet sadness in it. No dramatic scene, only a hand no longer usable, more difficult steps, and an entire family adapting reply to that loss. According to Jung, all real suffering spreads beyond the individual. No one experiences pain entirely alone, and within the world of gorillas, this is especially true. If a silverback weakens, the whole family becomes more vulnerable. If a mother gorilla dies, an infant may not survive. Perhaps that is what makes these losses so deeply painful, because gorillas do not live as isolated individuals, they live as families. If we think deeply enough, one of the most fragile truths about gorillas is that they are biologically so close to humans, and that closeness makes human diseases extremely dangerous to them. A mild cold for a person can become deadly for a gorilla. According to Jung, this feels almost symbolic. The very thing that makes gorillas feel close to humanity also makes them more vulnerable to us. Perhaps that is why researchers must keep distance, wear masks, and behave with extraordinary care around gorillas, not because gorillas are dangerous, but because humans are far more dangerous to them If we imagine a young gorilla becoming sick, we suddenly understand how terrifyingly fragile life can be. A single sneeze, an invisible virus, and an entire gorilla family may face loss. According to Jung, modern humanity often forgets that we carry immense power even in the smallest actions. Perhaps that is why moral responsibility has become more important than ever, because humanity's influence on the world has grown far beyond what our ancestors could have imagined. If we think longer about it, war and conflict across parts of Africa also silently devastate gorilla habitats. When humans fight, forests often become hiding places, sources of resources, or battlefields. And somewhere amid those conflicts, gorillas simply try to continue living. According to Jung, humanity's shadow exists not only within individuals, it also exists collectively. War, greed, and destruction. Perhaps that is the most painful part of the gorilla story. They did not create war. They did not destroy the planet, yet they still live within the consequences of it. If you stand in a forest, once filled with gorillas, but now consumed by silence, you feel a strange and heavy emptiness. According to Jung, the disappearance of a creature is not simply the loss of a species, it is the loss of another way that life once existed on Earth. Perhaps that is why protecting gorillas means far more than wildlife conservation alone. It becomes a question of what kind of species humanity wishes to become, and whether we are still capable of living beside other beings without destroying them. If we think gently enough, gorillas do not ask much from the world. They do not need cities. They do not need technology. They do not need power. They only need forests wide enough, air clean enough, and peace enough to raise their young through the rainy seasons. According to Jung, every living being searches for only a few things: a place to belong, safety, and the chance to continue existing. Perhaps that is why the story of gorillas touches human hearts so deeply, because somewhere inside it, we recognize that what they need is also what humans truly need: a world peaceful enough to live within. As night slowly falls across the forests of Central Africa, a gorilla family curls together inside leaf nests beneath the cold mist. An infant sleeps against its mother. The silverback quietly keeps watch, one last time before resting. And somewhere beyond the forest, the human world continues, building, fighting, and changing the planet faster than ever before. According to Jung, every civilization eventually faces a profound question: will its power be used to protect life, or to make the gentlest things in this world slowly disappear? And perhaps gorillas are quietly waiting for humanity's answer: hope and conservation. Perhaps the most beautiful thing in the story of gorillas is the fact that even after the world has hurt them so deeply, hope has still not disappeared from those mist-covered forests. Imagine a cold morning in the Virunga Mountains. Mist hangs thick over dark green slopes. The first light of day is faint, as if even the sun moves more slowly through this place. A group of rangers quietly walks along a narrow trail between ancient trees. They check footprints, observe freshly broken branches, listen to distant sounds echoing softly through the forest. And somewhere ahead, a mountain gorilla family still exists. The infants still play. The silverback still leads the group. A mother gorilla still holds her child against the cold morning air. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, hope is not the belief that everything will become perfect. Hope is the ability to continue caring for something, even while the world remains uncertain. Perhaps that is the most beautiful thing about gorilla conservation. It is an act of hope. If we think deeply enough, there was once a time when many believed mountain gorillas might disappear forever. Deforestation, poaching, war, disease, all of it reduced their numbers to frighteningly low levels. But then, something quietly remarkable happened. Human beings began to change. Not the entire world all at once, only researchers, info-40, local communities, and people willing to dedicate their lives to protecting the rainforest. Slowly, mountain gorilla populations began to recover. According to Jung, one of the most important parts of psychological maturity is the ability to confront the shadow without allowing it to completely win. Perhaps conservation is humanity's way of attempting exactly that. After all the harm we have caused, human beings still remain capable of repairing, protecting, and caring. If we imagine a young gorilla born inside a protected forest, we suddenly understand conservation is not an abstract idea. It is the difference between a family continuing to exist and an entire bloodline disappearing forever from Earth. According to Jung, all life is more fragile than it appears. Perhaps that is why small victories in conservation carry such emotional weight. A young gorilla surviving winter, a forest not cut down, a family allowed to remain together quietly. These things become hope. If we think longer about it, ecotourism also changed the way humans see gorillas. In the past, many people only knew them through to films, myths, or fear. But when someone truly stands inside the rainforest and looks into a gorilla's eyes for the first time, something inside them often changes. Not the feeling of seeing wildlife, but the feeling of standing before a living being with emotion, family, memory, and an existence entirely its own. According to Jung, human beings only truly protect what they feel connected to. Perhaps that is why direct encounters with gorillas often leave such profound marks on people, because suddenly gorillas stop being a distant species. They become a gaze, a family, a real presence inside human memory. Imagine a traveler quietly sitting in a misty forest. A curious young gorilla looks toward them from afar. The silverback calmly observes. Nobody speaks, only the sound of leaves moving softly in the wind. And within that moment, the boundary between humanity and nature suddenly softens. According to Jung, one of the great illnesses of the modern world is the feeling of separation from nature. We live surrounded by concrete, screens, and overwhelming speed until we forget that we too are creatures of Earth. Perhaps gorillas help human beings remember that. If we think deeply enough, protecting gorillas is not merely protecting a primate species. Gorillas are essential parts of the rainforest ecosystem itself. They spread seeds, create trails, influence forest structure. When gorillas survive, the entire forest becomes healthier. According to Jung, all life is interconnected through invisible relationships. Nothing truly exists alone. Perhaps that is what conservation quietly reminds humanity of, that when we save one species, we often simultaneously save an entire web of life surrounding it. If we imagine a forest without gorillas, slowly everything else changes too. The trees, other animals, rivers and water systems, and the balance of the ecosystem itself. According to Jung, destroying one part of life always leaves a larger emptiness than we first imagine. Perhaps that is why conservation feels almost sacred. It is not simply preserving nature, it is protecting the possibility of balance itself. If we think gently enough, the most touching truth may be this: the future of gorillas has not yet been fully decided. Their story is not over. Right now, Somewhere within the forests of Africa, young gorillas are still playing, mothers are still caring for infants, and rangers are still quietly guarding the forests. Through the cold night, according to Jung, the future is not created only through grand events. It is created through repeated choices made every day. Perhaps that is what conservation truly means. Not one heroic moment, but rather continuing to protect, continuing to care, continuing not to give up. If you stand in the forest at dusk, mist slowly thickens between the tree trunks. A gorilla family builds nests for sleep. An infant curls beside its mother. The silverback quietly watches. From the edge of the clearing, everything appears peaceful, fragile, and beautiful beyond words. According to Jung, what human beings choose to protect reveals much about their soul. Perhaps the way humanity treats gorillas is not merely a story about wildlife. It is a deeper question. Are humans still capable of loving forms of life that bring them no direct profit or power? If we think longer about it, real hope is often very quiet. It does not always appear as dramatic victory. Sometimes, hope is simply one forest left standing, one young gorilla still alive, or one young person somewhere in the world falling in love with nature after looking into a gorilla's eyes. According to Jung, all profound psychological change begins with emotional connection. Perhaps that is why stories about gorillas matter so deeply, because they help human beings feel, connect, and remember that life outside ourselves possesses value of its own. As night slowly falls over the mountains of Central Africa, the sound of insects grows steadier in the darkness. Leaf nests become quiet. Entire gorilla families drift into sleep within the cold, misty forest. And somewhere beyond those forests, human beings continue deciding, through small daily choices, whether these gentle creatures will continue existing in the future or survive only as memories inside the history of Earth. Perhaps that is the most beautiful and heartbreaking truth about hope. It is always fragile. But as long as there are still people choosing to protect life, hope has not yet disappeared from this world. A lesson about humanity itself. After everything we have traveled through during this long journey, across the rainforests of Africa, the deepest thing gorillas leave behind is not their strength, not their massive bodies, not the thunder of chest beating echoing through the mist, but the fact that when human beings look at gorillas long enough, they eventually begin to see themselves. Imagine a quiet evening. In the mountains of Central Africa, night slowly descends through ancient trees. Cold mist drifts through the branches, like the breathing of the forest itself. A gorilla family has just finished building nests for sleep. An infant curls beside its mother. The silverback sits silently at the edge of the clearing, its eyes growing heavy. In the last light of day, there is no roaring, no violence, only the ancient peace of living beings preparing to rest. And somewhere within that moment, we suddenly realize the story of gorillas was never only about gorillas. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, everything human beings become obsessed with in the outside world often reflects something inside their own minds. Perhaps that is why gorillas make humanity feel curious, moved, and afraid all at once, because they resemble an ancient mirror, a mirror reflecting instinct, emotion, family, tenderness, and the wildness modern humans try to forget. If we think deeply enough, for a very long time, human beings saw gorillas as monsters. We viewed them through fear, prejudice, and misunderstanding. But then, when we finally sat still long enough to truly observe them, we saw gorilla mothers holding infants, young gorillas playing, silverbacks quietly protecting families, and moments of grief when one member disappeared. According to Jung, psychological maturity begins when human beings stop projecting their shadow onto the world. Perhaps that is what happened between humanity and gorillas. We began realizing that what we once called monsters could also uncreased, remember, and suffer. If we think longer about it, the most beautiful thing about gorillas may be the fact that they never tried to become greater than nature. They simply lived within it, eating when hungry, resting when tired, raising children, protecting family, moving through forests, according to the slow rhythm of life itself. According to Jung, modern humans often live far removed from that rhythm. We are rushed, anxious, competitive, and constantly trying to prove our worth. Meanwhile, gorillas quietly exist without needing to prove anything at all. Perhaps that is why watching them feels strangely peaceful, because somewhere deep inside, we remember we too were once creatures of forests, earth, slow breathing, and small communities living close together. If we imagine a gorilla mother rocking her infant to sleep beneath the sounds of insects at night, we suddenly feel that the distance between humans and gorillas is not as large as we once believed. According to Jung, the collective unconscious of humanity still carries memories of millions of years of evolution. Perhaps that is why gorillas feel so strangely familiar, not because they are almost human, but because somewhere far back in the story of life, we once shared the same ancient path. If we think gently enough, gorillas do not only reflect human tenderness, they also reflect human responsibility, because humanity itself is deciding whether forests survive, whether gorillas have a future, and whether these creatures' place will continue living or exist only in documentaries and memory. According to Jung, true power always carries moral responsibility. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson the story of gorillas leaves behind. Human beings are a species capable of destruction, but also capable of protection. If you stand inside a forest that has already lost its gorillas, you feel a strange sadness, not only because an animal is gone, but because a form of living presence has disappeared from the earth. According to Jung, every species represents a part of nature's wholeness. When one disappears, the world becomes poorer, not only biologically, but spiritually. Perhaps that is why protecting gorillas means more than science alone. It becomes a question of what kind of world humanity wishes to leave behind. If we think deeply enough, gorillas also force us to reconsider intelligence itself. They do not build cities, they do not invent technology, but they care for one another, learn, play, grieve, and maintain peace within their communities. According to Jung, a truly mature civilization is not measured only through power or technology. It is measured by the ability to empathize, connect, and live beside other forms of life without destroying them. Perhaps that is the question gorillas quietly ask humanity every day. After all our progress, have we truly learned how to live more gently? Imagine a completely silent night in the rainforest. The entire gorilla family sleeps. Mist rests softly over leaf nests. The wind moves gently through the treetops. The silverback finally closes its eyes, after making certain the family is safe. And somewhere inside that darkness, we suddenly understand, perhaps the most primitive happiness of life was never very complicated. Only having somewhere to belong, having family nearby, and being safe enough to sleep through the night. According to Jung, modern humanity often searches for meaning in distant places, but sometimes the deepest meaning exists inside the simplest things. Perhaps That is what gorillas quietly remind us of. That I'm love, connection, and presence matter more than civilization often teaches us to believe. If we think longer about it, the journey into the world of gorillas is also a journey back towards something ancient, inside the human soul itself, the part that still needs family, still wants to be understood, still fears loneliness, and still longs apart for a more peaceful world. According to Jung, every journey outward into the world eventually becomes a journey inward toward the self. Perhaps that is why the quiet eyes of gorillas move human beings so deeply, because somewhere inside them we see the fragility of life, primitive tenderness, and the part of our own spirit the modern world so often makes us forget. As the final night settles over the forests of Africa, all sounds slowly fade. Gorilla families disappear into sleep. Within the cold mist and darkness, the forest becomes so quiet, it almost feels sacred. And somewhere inside that silence, we suddenly understand. Perhaps the most beautiful thing about gorillas is not how powerful they are, but the fact that within a world filled with noise and chaos, they still quietly remind humanity that the most beautiful form of life is not built upon power, it is built upon the ability to love, live in harmony, and leave peace behind. When the final night eventually closes around us all,